right, welcome back, Panther fans. I'm David Brown along with Ryan Graham.
Hey, y'all.
Tim Thurber.
Hello.
And our special guest, Ben Moore.
Woo, what's going on?
And this is State of Atlanta. Welcome back, guys.
What up?
How's it going?
Goes well. Everybody have a good week?
I was going to say, is anyone going to answer the question, or are we all just going to keep asking each other?
I want to be on vacation again. That's where I want to be.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Coronavirus party going on.
Yeah.
Ben, thank you for being here again.
Yeah, man. Appreciate y'all having me for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I wanted to get you on before the football season started, and we just started chatting last week. And I mean, I know we still had a few weeks out, or I think actually 30 days out from the game. So I guess that's kind of like a month, right? That's how math works.
Yeah, we're at 30
Sure.
days. I stopped the countdown, because of hashtag COVID-19, and was a little nervous. And I got to be honest, I was told very early that my initial countdown was wrong, and I just kept rolling with it. I was like, all right, going to be defiant. And then naturally we changed to Thursday night. And what was fun is seeing some reaction from people. And they were like, oh, man, it's terrible. It's going to be Clemson, Georgia Tech. And I go, I don't think Clemson, Georgia Tech is going to happen that night. Just a hunch. And indeed it did.
Yeah.
Wait, it's not? That's not going to happen still? They changed their schedule, too?
Well, they're rewriting.
They rewrote the schedules, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know.
We'll get into
who knows if they just dropped their out of conference and just made more buys than normal, because they extended their conference tournaments too, right? Everyone's like taking it a week or two out.
Well, yeah, we'll get into all the conference stuff. I don't want to get too distracted here at the beginning, just because last time we had Ben on, we didn't get a chance to finish everything, so we did get a little sidetracked like we normally do early on. So
We're good at
that.
that.
Make sure to get all the questions in for Ben this time and not mess up. So with that, football camp starts tomorrow. Is that right, Ben?
That's correct. Yep. Their guys are ready, rock and roll. They had kind of a tiered method of getting guys on campus, but you had summer workouts that started. And what was interesting is some of the freshmen and preferred walk-ons just actually moved in this past weekend. So they got kind of a late start, but a lot of the guys were actually working out. I had a chance to talk to quite a few guys in the 2020 class, and they were participating in workouts just like they were actually there. They got the full rundown, and we're doing a lot of film work and things that way. But this past week, so let's see, tonight where we are Tuesday. So the week ago, was the first start. Hey, here are the coaches. They can be out there. They can actually use a ball, which is helpful in football, by the way. But getting out and doing weight room and field work and things like that. But guys have really, really worked hard, and they have done what they're supposed to do. There has been one public case of COVID within the Georgia State football program in terms of the student athletes. The only reason you know that is because the player actually went to his local newspaper where he was from, and that's Michael Hayes. He was in South Carolina on a beach trip with some friends. For the most part, everything that we're hearing, guys are doing what they're supposed to do. The team is taking it very seriously, and something that kind of Coach Elliott started a couple of years ago. What are you willing to give up to be great? And I think that's the important mantra that has certainly happened. But the guys are excited about camp, and they'll do the full practice, in helmet and shorts, and then the NCAA mandated acclimation period, and then from there, then the pads get put on, and the boys become men, basically, as some of the old school coaches would say.
Yeah, I like the way that what you said there, which Coach Elliott said is, what are you willing to give up to be great? Because the big question, one of the big questions, I guess there's a lot of big questions about this whole thing returning, has been how much can you trust a bunch of 18 and 22-year-olds to do things? And asking that question or putting that in front of them, I think, and granted, they're still 18 and 22-year-olds, and we have no idea what's going to happen, but approaching it from that direction is, if they are wanting to go to that party or go do something else or hang out with that friend of theirs or lady friend of theirs or what have you, they hopefully do have that in the back of their head, Coach Elliott saying, what are you willing to give up to be great? And the guys that really do want to be the best they can be, hopefully will make the right decision and at least be smart.
I don't know, man. These guys have not even started the season yet, and they've already beat Bama.
Yes, and until that check gets written, and we'll talk about that, but until that check gets written and gets deposited into our coffers, that is a forfeit in my book. Bama has currently forfeit to Georgia State. So that's
the way to go, Georgia State. Woo!
Woo!
Two
They
for
were
two.
so scared of what Georgia State did to Tennessee last year that they didn't want any of that. And
Took the
they-
easy
right.
way out.
Boom.
Exactly. So I guess then a question I wanted to ask, the biggest question that pops up on the Panther Talk message board all the time, and any conversation I have about Georgia State football is quarterback. We've got like
Sure.
a baker's dozen of them out there. We've got some with experience, some without, some stars, everything. And I guess
Some with really good social media experience too, right?
yes, my man Michael Calasandro with his heavy Twitter presence. So tell us what's going on. What should we expect or be looking forward to over the next 4 weeks about finding out who our starting quarterback's going to be?
Yeah, it's been wild too. This program has been really, really lucky, and I would even say blessed with 3 really good quarterbacks the last 6 years. Going back to Nick Arbuckle and just a earth-shaking presence there, and just a tremendous leader after the chaos that we know the first basically 4 or 5 seasons. Nick stabilized that. Still will probably have records that won't be broken in terms of passing yards, and as I still remind folks too. The offensive line was just completely different. I mean, if Nick Arbuckle was playing behind this offensive line, he may throw for 5,000 yards. It was just that unbelievable. Then moving to Connor Manning, who still, I believe has one of the more underrated, careers in Georgia State, football history, and maybe as if any athlete still holds the most wins in program history. And then we certainly know in the last 2 years what Dan Ellington was able to do. And it's just tough because you look at it, you almost have to split, his resume and say, okay, what he did the first 8 games and then, certainly the last 5. But the leader right now in the clubhouse, certainly with a guy with experience that has actually played, with live bullets is, Cornelius Quad Brown, big, tall, 6'4.5", 6'5", about 185 pounds. He has gained some weight this offseason and has worked really, really hard on his body. Very, very natural thrower, big arm. Was kind of put in some situations last year in blowouts. He came in at the end of App State and didn't really throw the ball a ton, but looked okay behind the second string offensive line, which that's a part of it too. It's going to be very difficult for him to do, and then caught some time against Western Michigan as well when he was just thrown in there when the game was out of hand. And of course ULM when Dan got hurt. But also Jamil Muhammad, a guy that I've been very, very high since he signed last year. And kind of an interesting deal too. He enrolled early at Vanderbilt. Out of high school, graduated early, then went ahead and went to Vanderbilt, went through spring practice with them through January 2019, actually scored 2 touchdowns in their spring game, 1 running, 1 passing, and then decided, hey, I'm not where I need to be in the depth chart. I'm going to go ahead and transfer out, joins the team here in Atlanta, has to sit out last season. Which could certainly bring up a different conversation with all the waivers being, waived all over the country. But yet we have a guy who sits and says, all right, well, he never played and, wasn't, technically on campus. But so he sits out the year. He's a guy that is a little bit shorter than Quad is, but he is definitely huge. If you follow him on social media, guy that can just squat a house. I mean, he's lifting in terms of, upper body and lower body workouts with the linebackers. Like he's really, really put together, and a guy that, is one of the more physical athletes, I think, on that side of the football. And then you have your guy, Michele Colasardo.
Am I saying it wrong? Michele? It's Michele?
You have. It's okay. He's one of the nicest guys I've met, and a great family there out of Chapman, South Carolina. But he's been on campus since January, and then he went home because, certainly everything went virtual. But he's in this mix as well. I wouldn't count him out. And a guy that, again, when you have a resume like he had in high school, state championship and Gatorade Player of the Year, it catches people's eyebrows as well. But he's a guy that fits in this offense as well. Run a very similar type offense in high school. Very much a dual threat guy. Can move inside and outside the pocket, can deliver the ball. And that's the biggest thing, too. We will continue to see, and it was in Allison George, shout out Allison, the great SID for the football office, saying, look, the running game is still going to be the focus here, regardless of whoever wins this job. But it's going to be those 3 guys. They're in the mix. I know Kirsten Harvey's name keeps getting thrown in there, and no disrespect to Kirsten and his family, but he is a walk-on. He's a guy that's not a scholarship player, and he's there for depth. If we see Kirsten Harvey starting games this year, something has gone horribly wrong.
Yeah, you say that actually reminds me. It's completely unrelated, but I went to Falcons camp last year, and we'll be doing a little autograph thing, and Matt Schaub walks by. My friend straight up, and it's a woman, so she probably gets a little bit of a pass there for saying this, but she literally straight up says to him as he's signing the thing, "I hope I don't see you play it all this season."
That's fair, though.
Like,
I think he can appreciate that as a backup. I think.
He laughed.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, he's laughing. He was getting his $1 million, $2 million for that year. He didn't care if he stepped foot on the field at all. But
he's 39 years old. He's my age, and go Google his career earnings, and feel very sad about yourself.
Oh yeah. He's I remember when Tony Romo was negotiating his contract. He's like, I want Matt Schaub money. That was the thing. So yeah, he's all right.
So we talked about quad a little bit in that, and I just thought it was really telling that, like, you know, even throughout the season, when, and, you know, I know everyone loves Dan, and you know, he's a good player, but, you know, he had a torn ACL and we still weren't starting quad. So I think, like, that kind of speaks to me as, like, you know, like you said about the walk-on guy, it's like if he's starting, maybe it's questionable, because we wouldn't even start him when the guy who was starting above him had a torn ACL. Like, was he not better than Dan with a torn ACL?
I think it was just different. I think it was the threat of it, and I think the biggest thing that Coach Elliott, you know, kind of even found out is the week, you know, that you got to remember the weekend after Louisiana Monroe, it was App State at home, and you're still in the mix in terms of, even with that loss, you know, it's the first loss in conference. You still had a shot basically to go and win the division if you could find a way against App State. I think the toughest part about it is, and certainly we saw the offense grind to such a halt, you know, rushing the ball, because he was a zero threat. And that was kind of my question as well. But, you know, with the assumption, you know, you had a big-time athlete in Jamil Muhammad, you know, what happens, and we can play the what-if game forever, but, you know, again, not only what if Dan doesn't get hurt, but what if, you know, Jamil's eligible and he can step in right away and you know, have and Quad's not the runner that you know, Dan certainly was, and I don't even think Jamil is, but you know, he's got a bigger arm, and I think that's where they were looking at, okay, do we operate and have Trey Barnett running and just give the option? But then teams, you know, were adept and realized, hey, look, he's not going to run at all. And I think he ran for a total of like 60 yards in the last 5 games, which is just not Dan Ellington as we saw. But I think they just, you know, the goal was to redshirt him. It was a tough decision. I know the coaches fought with it as well. That's the biggest thing, you know, they're looking at, because you do wonder that, hey, you know, do we have a better chance if this guy's not out there, you know, potentially hurting himself worse? And we just saw that. I mean, the games got out of hand pretty quickly. You know, App State was great, and then it got continue to kind of fall apart, except for the South Alabama game. So, you know, he's had a whole off season again, and he's got, you know, he's gotten bigger, gotten stronger. You know, he even told me, I think when he enrolled, he was probably about 175, 100, you know, in that neighborhood. He's up to about 190, and can take, you know, bigger hit and bigger roll. And again, it's going to be a heck of a battle that we haven't seen really in about 6 years.
So you think right now, I mean, it's Quad Brown's job to lose at this point, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, it's pretty even, and I would be very stunned if, you know, the quarterback got named truly at all. You know, Coach Elliott likes to hold a lot of stuff close to the vest, just simply because, you know, there's really no purpose in giving Murray State or anybody else, you know, any more information. There's not a whole lot of film on Quad out there that's positive, so you don't really know what he can do. And because he played in 2, you know, at very least blowout games in the Louisiana Monroe second half, primarily, there's not much out there on him, and Jamil basically has nothing. So I think, you know, depending on how those two come out of camp, you know, you could see, you know, both of them get playing time against Murray State. I don't hate the fact that we're not playing Alabama week 2 right before you playing Louisiana. Louisiana is probably, outside of App State, the most talented team that you know, will play this season. So it's a positive, certainly. And you know, Louisiana has just a heck of a talent level on both sides of the ball. So you know, if both of those guys get an opportunity to play against Murray State, who is not very good, this is not an FCS team that is going to compete for a playoff berth, if there even is FCS playoffs. That's supposed to be voted on tomorrow, from what I understand.
Like half the FCS programs or conferences are shut down, so maybe Murray actually does have a chance at a playoff spot this season.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, is they just don't know, because I mean, you look down the street. I mean, Kennesaw State has basically already has had 4 games canceled off their schedule. So, and again, at FCS you only play 11, so they're staring at basically a 7-game schedule. So how do you base it off of, you know? And there's already been some stuff written out there saying, hey, bowl games and things like that are going to have 3-win, 4-win programs this season. It's just going to be kind of crazy.
They could probably play us.
We'll get into that later on. Tim, I want to give you I want to ask one question. You haven't had a chance to ask anything yet, but I want to ask Ben one thing because it's relating to what he just said. So Coach Elliott was a big change from what Miles and Curry was, as far as like not letting press or media to show up to practices and anything like that, and kind of keeping everything close to the vest. I guess kind of the old school. I don't know if it's a Spurrier thing that he got or just kind of an old school football thing, but this just entered my head while you were talking. Do you think that with the name, image, and likeness changes that are coming to college football, that may actually change the way a coach approaches something? Because when you say he's got nothing to gain from naming a quarterback right now, you're absolutely right. He's got nothing to gain. The team's got nothing to gain. But if Quad or whoever gets named as a starting quarterback, that's another 3 or 4 weeks that kid can make some money off of his name. And that could be something that is used as a recruiting tool to be like, hey, I'm going to start you, and I'm going to let everybody know that I'm going to start you. You're going to have the entire summer and fall, like pre-camp, to know that you're going to be the guy, and you can be selling those T-shirts or doing your appearances or whatever it may be. Do you think that's something that could possibly happen?
Yeah, it's a tough dynamic. And I know, the name, image, likeness, I'm still very interested to see on how many kids actually can profit off that. Because the biggest thing I can tell you from talking to people, not just at Georgia State, but around the Southeast in terms of the athletic side of things, there's a very big worry in the fact that, a lot of folks are bringing up the car example. All right, so I'm, XYZ, pick your favorite car dealership. And I'm giving $5,000 or $10,000 to a university so I can have my name mentioned on the radio broadcast. And I'm going to give 250 of that to the starting quarterback now. And you're, kind of using your example. The trouble is that's money not going to the athletic department. So they're nervous about that. Hey, am I going to make that up? And, some of these numbers, depending on the program, can get pretty big. There's also the other side of it too, is just the transient nature at that quarterback position. You have a quarterback who, only one's are going to play. If you're a wide receiver, you can play 5, 6, 7 wide receivers in a game. Same thing with offensive linemen, running backs, you can shuffle in. But as we've seen all across college football, the longer you can hold on to kids and keep them engaged, I think is the biggest focal point. And even drilling down on this fall, with the coronavirus pandemic, you don't know who's going to get sick. And that was going to be one of my questions for Coach Elliott in media day, if we have one or have some media availability in the next couple of days, is just saying, you don't want these guys really in the same room, not even just 6 feet apart. You want them 10, 12, 15 feet apart. I mean, even have separate sessions potentially, because that is the most important position. You don't want to get in a situation where, you have to, let's just say, put a punter at quarterback, for example.
Good one.
Let's not do that.
Tim, you've not gotten a chance to get that word in. You got a question for Ben?
I do. I mean, I don't, the time that Quad played last season, it was all garbage time. I mean, I don't put a lot into I don't put a lot of stock into that. It sounds like you're pretty high on Quad for a starter. Who's your number 2 quarterback right now, from what you see? Yeah,
I think it's Jamil. Just from the standpoint he's been in the system for a year.
Sure.
He was recruited at an SEC level. He has been through the process. McKelly is not. This is his kind of first way, and even worse, kind of for McKelly. Spring. He only had basically a week of spring practice. Jamil has, at least that was his second full spring practice he's been able to go to. He's going to be used to the process of it. He even put it out there on social media a couple of times. McKelly did. This college stuff is hard. Doing even the virtual and being the quarterback. When there's different expectations, there's different pressures on you as the guy coming in. It's going to be interesting to see, how they manage this schedule. If it's 11 games, if it's 12 games, things like that, if somebody gets added, but just seeing the utilization of all of the guys. McKelly has that red shirt available if needed. So, he has, 4 games that he could play in and still, take that red shirt. But, I think it's Jamil. I think he's a guy, and it was kind of a strange quote in the Athletic piece, with Jeff Schultz, Coach Elliott wrote about, and just talked about how good of an athlete Jamil Muhammad was, and that he could potentially put him at a different position or even on defense. And I talked to a few folks. I think that was more just kind of sending a message of hey, let's lock in here and go take this job if you can go get it. And again, I think it's going to be a battle. I'd be stunned if if it didn't rage throughout. Because, the biggest thing too with fall is these guys have workouts. They're doing 7-on-7. They're doing field work. They're doing things with the wide receivers. What I kind of got in the early report in spring was, one guy would look ahead, one day, and the next guy would take the lead. So it really was a battle. There wasn't, one guy that was, and again, smaller sample size, but you had guys that were, putting on, pretty good show. And again, they've got, almost every single receiver and tight end are back. They got 2 all Sun Belt tight ends and Roger Carter and Aubrey Payne. It's just loaded on the offensive side of things. You look at everything that's in front of them in terms of a setup. You don't have to go and win it yourself. You don't have to be, go out there and be a hero at the quarterback position. And I think, Brad Glenn has shown he can develop quite a game plan to showcase guys' skill set. And again, what even shows me, he had Dan in there and in several games competitive, even though he had a torn ACL. So, we know, hey, if you have some healthy guys and you got some guys that can run, and also we don't really know too on how Quad looks in terms of the RPO game. Being able to go and how can he read defensive ends, linebackers? Does he know how to pitch? I don't know how athletic he is out on the edge because we just haven't seen that quite yet. And like you said, in the garbage time. So I think that all factors in, and we'll see how well he adapts to that. And with both those guys going through the entire system all last season, and really, who comes out, on top, it's going to be fun to watch.
I think one of the benefits you get, though, with somebody like Dan, though, you talk about Glenn, and I think he let Dan go a little bit and said, hey, you go do your thing. And when you have a quarterback on the field that can call his own plays and, really read a defense and make sure that he's making the right calls, that's a really big benefit on any offense, way above and beyond having an offensive coordinator that knows what they're doing. And, we just don't have a lot of experience, at this point at quarterback. There's just not a lot of that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think, Ryan, you're kind of either reading my mind or social media right now, because that's what I was going to go to is we got a social media question from our man John Weaver on Facebook. Will we finally see a 2+ year starter at quarterback for Georgia State?
I could see it. I could also see one of these 3 guys, bailing out, as we kind of talked about, bailing out and transferring different schools, because the good thing is they're all freshmen. The bad thing is they're all freshmen, which means they're going to matriculate at the same rate, basically. So guys want to play in college football, especially at that position. So seeing if they get the opportunity to have it here or elsewhere. And I can tell you there's more talent coming on the way. The quarterback commit in 2021 is very impressive. He has not gone public with his commit quite yet. And I don't want to certainly steal his headlines, but
no, you can totally do that. You can totally steal his headline. We'll put it out here. It'll be
no one's listening to us.
It's Atlanta exclusive.
We'll just what's funny, and this. Here's a quick story for you guys. So basically, the reason why I don't do that anymore is because of RJ Hunter. So RJ, told me that he was going to commit to Georgia State, and of course, the story was, hey, he was a senior up there at Pike High School in Indianapolis. So he told me that he was going to commit. I was like, awesome. I was doing work for SB Nation back in the day. I wrote the story, published the story. One problem. RJ didn't let all the other coaches know.
Oh, no.
So I had to basically go back and say, all right, so he kind of didn't commit yet. And, he had offers from Butler and Brad Stevens and Wake Forest and other programs like that. So I let the kids go public and let them go kind of have their moment, and then we kind of push it. But let's just say I've had the story written since July the 2nd. So we know who this guy is. It's just we're just waiting on. He's a silent commitment is what we call him.
All right, all you comp sci majors out there, go out there and hack Ben's account, and we can find out he has exclusives over here. We'll just start releasing his leaked documents.
Look, give me like 2 hours to pull up all my old Twitter stuff. I could find them.
I have no doubt.
Hey, do you guys have any more questions about quarterbacks before we take it to another topic, guys? I don't want to leave anybody in the lurch there.
Yeah, we have a good question about basketball, it sounds like. So.
Well, I'm not done with football yet, so we'll get to the basketball.
Well, fine then.
At the end.
You're the host.
Yeah, exactly. Know your place, Ryan. So Ben, when you and I were talking about having you on for exactly. John Weaver says to save the
He's not even caught up yet. He's talking about something else. Like 10 minutes ago.
Save the exposing the quarterback for last call. I like it. But no, so when I was talking to you last week about having you come on and talk about quarterbacks, your comment was you had a lot to say about kickers. And we have, let's see who it is.
It's like our two favorite topics at Georgia State, quarterbacks and kickers, and sometimes defense. Sometimes.
On Twitter, at that 5011 guy, Mitch, he asked about kickers. What can you tell us about the kicking situations? That was another big question. There was three big questions. There was quarterback, there were kickers, and then we'll get to next defense. So what can you tell us about the kicking game?
Yeah, I think it's probably in one of the best places in terms of place kicking you could possibly be. I mean, you have Noel Ruiz, who was an FCS All-American at North Carolina A&T, and just the volume amount, I believe he was 23 for 27, basically kicking field goals, has a really, really good range, is a guy that could be an outside NFL caliber prospect that's coming in as a graduate transfer. And I think the biggest thing, too, and Brandon Wright would probably never say it, and even Will Lutz, he and I talked about it in the past, just the strain of kicking, place kicking, punting, and doing kickoffs. I mean, it tends to wear guys down, and you see their numbers slowly start decreasing. I think for the first time in a while, you're going to actually have a place kicker and then a punter. Michael Hayes right now is looking like the guy who's going to be a punter. Was a place kicker and punter in high school in South Carolina and took a red shirt last year. But he looks to be the guy. There's going to be several other walk-on candidates as well that are going to be in the kicking mix, including a guy from Will Lutz's old high school who will actually talk to the coaching staff and talk to the kid as well and sent him out. So now that the roster has been updated, you can see all the guys out there. But yeah, I think Noel's going to be awesome, really, in terms of place kicking, and a guy, again, kicking off turf. Is such an advantage for a lot of these kickers. They enjoy it a lot better than natural grass. You won't have that slip of that plant leg. But I think, again, I think it's going to be a scenario, too, where he puts up serious numbers with opportunity. And as we talked about before, a little bit younger guy on offense. If the offense does stall, but you get over, the 40, 45-yard line, you have an opportunity to put up points, which is just enormous.
Yeah, with an NFL caliber kicker for our team is that there's a really good chance they're not going to be going to the Saints. So
really good chance. With the punter, you said we might have a different punter. Are our coaches are they sold on the rugby kicks, or is that like a per player type of decision?
It is per player. I mean, we saw a little bit too. Brandon, I think, started to wear down a little bit in the season last year. Punting, and he battled a little bit of a groin injury toward the end of the season too, which kind of hurt him. Again, when you have to kick and your groin hurts, that's not a great recipe for success.
No.
But I don't know this. I just guessing here, just the anatomy of having to punt a football. Michael's got a big leg. He was a guy that in high school kicked in the several 50-yard field goals. You got Hunter Williamson, another guy who was a redshirt last year as well, walk on. You got guys that, again, are going to battle at those positions. There just wasn't a whole lot of competition in terms of who could kick, who could punt last year, and Brandon Wright was the best option on both fronts. I think you're going to have options at punter, and that's, again, there's just not a whole lot of positions that are up for grabs in fall camp, but, certainly punter is one of those.
I think it's weird. Yeah. It's kind of obvious, but I don't know. I think it's weird. Kicking is obviously a specialized position there, and everyone thinks, well, it's kicking, so you can kick the ball, you can punt, you can place kick, you can do all that stuff. It's very different. It's a very different thing. It's just because you're using your foot to move the ball does not mean it's the same kind of thing. And I agree exactly. You start getting one guy, you try to open up one roster spot by having one guy that can do all the kicking jobs. And that's got to be a huge stress. You're not able to spend as much time on place kicking because you're spending time on punting and vice versa. So, yeah, I like having different place kickers and punters. So I get it. Hey, Tim, you want to say something before I
was just saying, I hope Noel's like Mr. Automatic. It's always been – kicking's been a bane of our existence somewhat. I noticed that Noel's got a 52-yarder over Elon, so that sounds good. I just want a kicker. We just don't have to think it's going to happen. He's going to make it.
Tim, I really hope that we get a quarterback that just throws a touchdown every single play.
I would love that more, but
I bet we will have a hard time recruiting running backs like that.
I'm sorry, man. Yeah, no, but if we hand it off to the running back, I hope that they run it for a touchdown
Every
the time too.
Yeah,
Just every time. And then actually when the defense gets it, I hope they intercept it every play. Just done. Turnover.
A few pick sixes here and there, just to keep it spice it up a little bit, right?
Well, we wouldn't want to hurt the offense.
I think just to spice it up, just a little flavor, just a little pinch, a little dash will do you. All right, yeah. So we talked quarterbacks, we talked kickers. The other big question mark. I mean, actually, before we ask this question about defense, something I was talking to Tim about. Like, so Ben, you are the man that knows as much or as more than anybody about Georgia State athletics outside of Dave Cohen or someone that works for the university. How do you pronounce the defensive coordinator's last name?
It's Fyoo-Kway.
Okay. So yeah.
Is he related to the Coke guy?
What's that?
Isn't it Coke in Coke? Fyoo-Kway? Yeah.
So Fyoo-Kway had the Instagram handle or whatever.
Right, yeah.
On Friday, and Tim I'm not an Instagram guy. Tim messages me and he's like, "Do you know how to pronounce his name?" And I'm like, and I thought it was Fyoo-Kway, something like that.
We said on the podcast.
And yes, that's how I said it. Apparently I got Calasandro's first name wrong as well. I forget what that's supposed to be. Michele, I guess.
Michele, yep.
Michele. All right, so I got that right. I will drink enough to forget that until like next episode, and I'll start saying it Michael again. But
I'm sure he's heard that. He's from South Carolina, so it's all good.
His name is pronounced Fyoo-Kway. I had no idea. He said it himself right there in the opening Insta, whatever they call an Insta thingy.
Whatever the kids are calling it these days.
That's right.
So what should we expect out of Fyoo-Kway's 2020 defense?
Well, you've got 3 Power 5 transfers in the starting lineup to start. That helps, certainly. The talent infusion is there. Gone are Remy Lazarus in safety and Ed Kearney up the middle and Terry Thomas in the defensive line. But it's one of those situations that you have Chris Moore as a graduate transfer from the University of Virginia who's played quite a bit. You've got Jemias Williams who's going to play defensive back and I think is going to be kind of a rover. Being a cornerback, defensive back who has elite speed. Played again as a freshman at South Carolina. Was injured last season. We're still awaiting official word if he's going to be eligible, but by every single thing that he does, he checks the boxes and says, hey, he played in the minimum number of games to qualify for a red shirt. But he has elite speed. He's healthy now. A guy that can be an impact guy. And also Kyle Wright, guy from University of North Carolina player, came in last year, got sick, unfortunately, in camp, and was not able to practice for the first few weeks of camp. Kind of a scary deal. I was hospitalized a little bit, but has recovered, gotten better, and is backed up to 230 pounds, and big-time inside linebacker. And we just haven't really seen that size in a few years. We've seen that a few years ago in Jesse Minter's defense. But I think with so many guys back, I believe I can't remember the site that put it out there, but I used their tweet in the piece that we wrote last week. About the defense. I believe you return all 5 of your pass rushing threats. So you got guys like Joshon Taylor and Victor Hayward on the outside. You've got guys like Hardrick Willis on the defensive line. So should be able to generate pressure. Your defensive backs are pretty much set. You've got guys coming back. You've got cornerback depth. The numbers alone on the defensive side are pretty impressive. So, if not this year, then when? It's kind of, I guess, my question. They need to be competitive. They need to be able to stop, the offenses in this league, because as we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years, you not only have to score, in the high 20s or low 30s, you got to be able to prevent other people from hitting that same range again to win games in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, that was the thing last season is that, we were putting up points and Dan was making some amazing plays, but it's like we had to keep the offense had to keep, scoring points because the defense we couldn't trust to make a stop.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest thing. I remember I was reading Phil Steele this weekend, and he was just talking about I believe it was, with the scoring offense being up so high, but still, again, you have an opportunity where, hey, you're giving up is just as much as you're scoring historically in the Sun Belt. You just can't do that. You can't have a defense that gives up 35 every day. And I think even we saw it 2 years ago in 2018, where there was at least 3 games that were lost because the defense just couldn't stop anybody. And seeing gaps wide open, guys running, wide open, and guys that just, from the rushing point of view, blowing through a defensive line. There's bad angles everywhere. That stuff has to stop. And I think whether it's I've continued to ask the question: is it the players or is it the place? Right now the talent level is continuing to rise. You still have guys that were highly thought of coming out of high school and signed with bigger programs. Those are guys that are expected to be impact players, so they need to have opportunities to go make plays. And again, guys that made plays last year, the Jalen Joneses of the world and the Quay Whites, that they're back another year stronger, another year comfortable within the system. I'd love to see a lot less of the soft zone and a lot more of the man-to-man, but that's just not really
soft zone, man.
Coach Fyoo-Kway's style.
That soft zone, man, you're right. I'm so tired of seeing that soft zone defense.
Our professional team does the same thing here in town. It drives me crazy as well.
Well, our professional team does not have a head coach with any defense experience, so
there's that. Well,
sarcasm off. Hey, Tim, you got any questions? Brian, you got any questions?
I'm good for now.
Football questions? I got my only. I asked. I don't even get Tim a chance to respond. What then over the next 4 weeks should we expect? What kind of news should we expect? What will we be hearing over the next 4 weeks coming out of the football? I mean, if anything at all.
Sure. Well, I can tell you one, and I just got a message just now that I won't be breaking here, but I'll break shortly after I get off with you guys. But we have.
What the heck, man? No.
Well,
I love you.
I gotta go. Bye.
All right, Tim, you are on PantherTalk duty. Just keep on hitting refresh as soon as Ben leaves.
Yeah,
this is bullshit. We give you a platform, and this is how you treat us.
Hey, Ben, to be fair, this will not come out. Oh, I guess it is actually on Facebook right now.
That's okay. There's 7 people looking at Facebook. Yeah. It's fine.
Let's just say the days of calling at Georgia State Stadium are very, very limited.
Oh, man.
Come on, man. Break it.
What?
That's the worst news ever.
Do it.
No, I'm reading through it live time right now. I feel like Adam Schefter on ESPN.
All right.
Well, how about you, like Adam Schefter, report the news?
Yeah. Well, I'm hearing my sources. Sources are confirming.
Adam Schefter has the best job in the world. He just waits around for people inside the programs to actually report news, and then he gets to be the one that breaks it. So.
Yeah.
He's got to have at least 3 phones. I know he has that one. It can't be just one. He's got to have multiple that has to auto forward or something. It's just it's amazing. But yeah, we that news will come out shortly. Just hit refresh. I'll bolt it here shortly. But like I said, the as all things do, they have to go in front of certain review boards and such. And there's things that are already on the Board of Regents agenda. So. That's all I can give you right now, but it does look like it is a lucrative deal for Georgia State once it passes.
Adam Schefter is probably one of the only guys that can have multiple phones and his wife not get suspicious about the whole thing. So,
yeah, who are you talking to? A GM from the Texans?
What are you wearing, GM from Texas?
Khakis.
That's exciting news. We'll look forward to.
Wait, no, David, it's not. There's no news.
It's an exciting rumor. It's an exciting rumor that, of course, things break after we record episodes because that's.
Don't give Ben any credit.
No, it's Will's fault. It's Will's fault. Will knew that we recorded this. He came on last week to tell us he was going to try to do better, and now Georgia State's going to break news tomorrow. It's all.
But here's the trouble. This one's not from Will. This is not from athletics. So it's a little bit bigger than that. This is at the university level. So.
All right. Well, excellent.
Well, we like the new name of the stadium.
I don't know. See, this is we don't know that, man. We can put it on a vote. We'll see.
All right, Tim, go for it. Ask a question. Ask something.
He won't talk. What's to ask him?
All right. Well, I think that means we're done with football. We do a couple of basketball questions. Twitter question from at Julian Harden 3. Actually, most of our questions are from Julian. Who has the brighter future in basketball, State or Tech?
Yeah, I saw that. I will say in the immediate, the brighter future is kind of a hard question because you have a mid-major versus a major program. And I think Tech has underachieved for several years, and it's just because truthfully, Josh Pastner has not been successful recruiting Atlanta. He's gone the route that frankly Georgia State has. Going and get transfers from other major programs. Guys from Southern Cal coming in, coming back home. Going and picking guys that way. Josh Pastner, I can tell you, I've been talking to folks and have listened to interviews with him in local radio. He was really hoping the NCAA would pass the rule that guys were basically going to be eligible to get the one-time transfer rule, so they'd be able to be immediately eligible. That would impact their program. It would certainly impact our program as well. But I think, certainly there is a level of ceiling that Georgia State has just because of the conference that we play in. You're not going to get multiple bids. And as we've even seen, it's very difficult to go and schedule, programs that are at the level or even higher, a little bit higher because they're afraid to lose. That was the biggest, I think shocking thing for a lot of our fans last year is the fact that you lost so many games at home and the way that you lost them, especially the final 2 home games. But even games that you just –
the last one didn't count. The last one didn't count because they canceled the program or they canceled the season the day afterwards. So retroactively, you don't count games that happened the day before. That's just the way it works when you cancel games during a pandemic.
We'll just, hashtag COVID-19 it, and they'll just wash it away.
No, yeah. So how much will having this convocation center change our ability to get higher profile teams in and give us that better opportunity to kind of, because that will be, and we haven't seen everything yet, that will be the best basketball arena in this crappy conference that we're in, right?
There's no question. I mean, UTA has a great facility. I mean, they of course don't play football; they're basketball only, and there's some nice facilities. I know South Alabama has improved their facility. Troy in the last few years as well.
Good.
There's and I think that's the biggest thing ultimately is it just takes that next step and does have the opportunity. You're going to be able to grab programs that are a lot more recognizable where the average Joe fan's going to come up and come out to a game, and I think that's the big selling point ultimately, where they can come in, get an opportunity to play, in a state-of-the-art, brand new facility. That's the big goal, going and trying to get games with in-state teams like there was signed with Georgia Tech, doing the basically 2-for-1. Hey, we'll play you guys the next 2 years over there on North Avenue, but we want you guys to come back when our place is built. And I think you're going to see other programs do similar. We have an opportunity as well to do that. I don't think UGA wants to see us anytime soon, even though they're certainly improving dramatically. But just the way that beatdown happened 2 years ago, Tom Crean probably has no interest in coming downtown nor seeing anything related to Georgia State on his schedule anytime soon. But yeah, I mean, the ceiling is still very, very high. I think Coach Lanier, with the roster that he had and just how young guys were last season, in terms of only one senior that was a contributor, knowing his style and guys that have been in the system. I think the ceiling is very, very high for the season. And there's a lot of, just the way that season ended, there's a lot of angst, especially with some of the upperclassmen, guys like Kane Williams, who this is his last ride, man. He wants to go out with a bang, and he understands what it's like to play in the NCAA tournament games, and he's excited to get back. And, I definitely think the ceiling is high there. And, but to answer Julian's question, in terms of a brighter future, it's tough to go against a major program, just because they're going to have advantages that Georgia State don't.
I hear you. I was talking to someone at Georgia State during one of our PAC meetings, obviously several months ago, and during football season. And the conversation was basically, it's been great that Lanier has really not let up from what we saw under the Hunter regime, which is great. But seeing, and I don't follow recruiting, well, nowhere near as close as you do, but I don't really follow recruiting. But what I had seen, what I've read that you wrote, and the other things that have come out, Twitter or whatever, it seemed like that he'd been put together a great class for some new rising rookies, some freshmen coming in there. So I was getting like, even though I was really and thoroughly enjoying our 2019-2020 season, that 2021 class, or sorry, that 2020 class looked exciting to bring a lot more height and athleticism to the program, which would be fun to watch, right?
Yeah, there's no question. Definitely some dynamic athletes and guys that are really, really tough. And that's the biggest thing, too. He wanted to add athleticism at almost every single position. The roster as it stands right now, the first workouts took place last week. It's very guard heavy, but, the Sun Belt is a very guard heavy league. And we've seen that in guys that can, play multiple positions, almost like the positionless basketball that really almost all levels now have gone to. But you got guys, that can step in and fill gaps. You've got multiple point guards on the roster now. You have multiple wings that can go out there and score, and guys like JoJo Toppin from the University of Georgia who are unbelievable athletes at 6'5" and a half, just freakish skills. And I think as we talked about before in previous podcasts, his goal is not to go out and lead the league in scoring. It's actually to be the defensive player of the year. I couldn't tell you how excited any coach on any level would love to hear that attitude of a guy who comes in and says, "Hey, I want to be able to shut the other guy down."
Charles Barkley. I'll take a Charles Barkley on our team. It'd be great, right?
Absolutely.
He was good at defense, right? I'm not forgetting that. He's a defensive guy.
Yeah. Defensive round mound or rebound, man. Absolutely.
Excellent. Yeah. So Julian also had another question. Assuming that they happen, what should our expectations be in basketball against teams like Michigan and Georgia Tech? I think that Michigan game is pretty much already shot to not happening at this point. But assuming it happens, what should our expectations be?
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectation is certainly to win the game. We know what the performance in the back-to-back games against Duke last year, losing by single digits and then going and having a lead against Georgetown. You kind of felt both of those games you had an opportunity, and really the Georgetown one felt, hey, we probably should have won that game.
Right.
And there were several games last season that were like that, where you had leads late and just kind of let it slide away. And it comes back to leadership and guys that just haven't been in those situations and were role players in previous seasons, and now kind of being thrust into, hey, I'm on the court, I'm playing 30 minutes a game, and I'm the guy that needs to make a play or make a stop. I think the expectation is always going to be to knock those teams off. I mean, there's a history here of knocking off SEC teams and knocking on the door there in the regular season. And that was the biggest thing too with Coach Hunter. There was many seasons where you just didn't have the big marquee regular season non-conference win. It came close several times at Ole Miss and in games like that until really kind of getting over the hump there with the jumper by Malik Dunleavy over Alabama. But there's Coach Lanier's scheduling is pretty clear. He will take on anybody, anywhere, doesn't care. Wants to test his guys, wants to test his team, and he also knows, look, those early tests are a lot better than playing the lower, D1 teams, just to get you ready for conference tournament play and hopefully NCAA tournament play as well. So I think the expectation certainly is to win those games, and that's Coach Lanier's attitude.
Yeah, that was the thing about it. And again, love Hunter, loved his time here. He did so much of this program. Despite everything, there's no way you cannot appreciate his time and respect him for what he did here. But that is one thing that he did seem to just struggle with, was come out of the gate stumbling. We play basketball is such a weird thing because it's really just kind of set that you're out of conference is all front loaded. And then before you get into your conference play, and you get those big games way early on, and so many opportunities, we were in those games and just couldn't close it out. And guys just weren't ready yet for that level of play. That being said, if the game happened in December or January, maybe we wouldn't. The other team would be just as well prepared or more experienced as well. So, yeah, it was great seeing Lanier's teams play so effectively against Duke and Georgetown, like you mentioned last season. So, yeah, that was it. That's all I got for the social media questions. Ben, I don't know if you need to run here soon, but what I want to get into next is going to be the conference announcements about what is going to happen with football. Would love to have you stick around, but understand.
Sure, I'm here. No, we're good.
We're good. All right, sounds good. So Ryan, Tim, do you guys have any more questions for Ben about that before we start getting into our regular nonsense?
No, I think let's get into the conference stuff, man. Let's talk about the COVID.
How about you, Tim? You good to go? You ready to push forward?
Yeah, we can push forward. I mean, unless Ben's heard anything about the Convocation Center, that's updates, but probably not, right?
October.
October for sure. I like it.
That's the schedule groundbreaking, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was like, done in October. It's not even started yet, man. What are you talking about October?
Yeah, and Charlie's reiterated a couple of times in interviews and releases that October is still on schedule. So that's what should happen. So, so there was a lot of news since last week. The Sun Belt announced officially today, but we kind of knew about it yesterday, what the plan was going to be for the conference, which is what I think is the right decision, and that is to play the conference schedule as is and let schools individually play as many out of conference as they deem appropriate for them.
So, I think you had to do that so that all those money games didn't get mutually canceled.
Right.
Yeah. So like Bama still owes us money because we're willing to play. They're playing 10 games, so why can't they play us?
Right. And so converse to Sun Belt is ACC and SEC also made their announcements, which is kind of amusing to me. Is ACC came out, I think it was like Wednesday or Thursday of last week, because it was right after we reported, and they're going to be like, we're going to do our conference schedule +1, and everyone thought that was they wanted to maintain those Georgia Tech rivalries, that Clemson, South Carolina, they were to maintain those, give the SEC that option for that, and the SEC the next day is like puts up the big middle finger emoji and is like, we're doing conference only. Screw you guys. We're the big boys in town. Don't think that you have a right to a game against any one of our teams.
And I saw all the chest thumping on social media for SEC. Like, why don't we just make it a 13-game schedule from here on out? You know?
Yeah, well, because there's a gob ton of money to be made.
Exactly. Like, guys, GFY, you know?
Yeah, so I don't even know what question to ask at this point, but so what do you guys think of – anybody go for it. What do you guys think of the announcements from everybody? Open question to anyone.
As a host, you should ask somebody so there's not the awkward silence.
All right. Well, so I will say that the Sun Belt basically announced the same thing that Conference USA had already announced. The same thing, conference schedule plus up to 4 out of conference. Makeup games have been canceled for you. That's fine. But reading online on the internet message boards or whatever, I felt the Sun Belt got attacked a lot more than Conference USA did. There was like, oh yeah, well, football's not even going to be played, or why can you what I wrote some notes down.
Well, so everybody knows that.
How do you care about players' safety and all this? Like,
everybody knows that COVID stays away from the conference games, right?
Obviously.
I mean, we all know that it's the virus understands that, like, if it's a conference game, you should stay away.
Well, I felt like they gave the Sun Belt a bad rep, like, well, what happens when your team comes down with all these COVID cases? Like, exact same thing the Conference USA said. It's no different, and there was no heat. There was no backlash. It's like, all right, cool, Conference USA, you do you, bro. We're cool. Sun Belt says the same thing, and they're like, oh, you guys aren't even going to play football anymore. That was a conversation killer.
Well, you could be FCS.
I was distracted in the background.
That's the other side.
Brian's got some shit going on at home, apparently. Can't control his own damn family.
My kid is screaming at the top of her lungs right now.
I heard a little bit, not too bad. Yeah, so with the SEC not matching up with the ACC, with that +1 game, that means that Georgia Tech has an open spot that must be played in the state of Georgia. Doesn't matter where it is, as long as it's in the state of Georgia. And immediately my reaction was, that is Georgia State's game. We're campuses are a mile and a half away from each other. It makes too much sense to do it. And I'm posting on Twitter. I'm like, this is going to be the case. And Ben Moore says that Tech's going to play.
I said, how about Kennesaw State?
No, you didn't say how about Kennesaw State. You said it's going to be Kennesaw State.
Here's what I
Huge Kennesaw fan, apparently.
That's
yeah.
All day, baby. Yeah. Love
An
that
owl
purple
t-shirt under that 24/7 polo.
Yeah, not so much. But no, I think the biggest thing ultimately I'm interested to see if the ACC and just goes ahead and walks that announcement back and just says, all right, so we were trying to preserve some of these rivalries that have happened for 70, 80, 90 years and go ahead and walk them back now that the SEC has responded. Because if you're a program like Missouri, if you're a program like Vanderbilt, you're programs like that and don't have that in-state rivalry outside of conference, who are they going to schedule? It's the same thing that, our friends up in Boone were looking at, saying, hey, well, Wake Forest, they could play the game in the state of North Carolina because the ACC says so. Look, man, Wake Forest could lose that game.
Right.
You think anybody at Wake Forest wants to play that game against App State? No way. It's things, and they're scrambling big time for games because they've lost multiple games now. They lost the game at Wisconsin, and now potentially at Wake Forest, and they lost their FCS opponent as well because they canceled the whole conference season. So you have teams in the league who have, like Texas State, who has 12 games. They're one of only 2 programs in FBS that still have 12 games to play. You have our situation where we have 11 games scheduled, and we're out there looking actively, from what I understand, for a 12th game. And not only to your point about Georgia Tech, I look at a team like UAB. They lost their week 2 and week 3 opponent. That's a short drive out to Birmingham, or have them come here potentially. So, and just move that series up, a few years potentially. So there's a lot of options out there. Just depends on the teams and the programs that do it. Here's where it comes down to ultimately. So these programs are looking at it and going, all right, does it make financial sense for us to host an opponent potentially? So let's just say FBS to FBS. So I'm not paying you money to come in and play, a home game, or I'm traveling. I'm not basically moving anything there. Hey, we just agreed to a back end deal. Had somebody come out and say, hey, will you just fill your remaining roster with FCS opponents? I said, okay, well, if you're paying them $300,000 and you don't net $300,000 on your home game because you have to have limited fans, in my view, if I'm the AD, why play that game? You're going to lose the money potentially. There's no big time network that's going to come screaming for a Georgia State Mercer game. You may want to go play a UAB, because here's the other side. The Power 5 programs have pushed their start date back. ESPN's going to have inventory available. I would not be surprised at all for a Georgia State, week 2 or week 3 game get picked up on a bigger network, just because the inventory is there for the network.
Well, we've got no week 2 games. That's the problem, is we've got no week 2. So if we want to get picked up, we got to play somebody. And UAB also lost. I think it was Miami. They got their game got canceled with. So that is an option. And we were already planning on traveling to Alabama. Now we save an extra hour on gas money to stop off in Birmingham versus Tuscaloosa. I agree. I want to see us schedule something. There's no reason why we should pay anybody. I think that we should still honor the contract with Murray State, because if we don't honor that, then we have no argument with Alabama. Right. And then you sent me a message before we started this whole thing, is that article came out about Bama paying their teams $2.5 million across, I think, 3 teams, including $1.3 million to Georgia State. And Charlie Cobb was like savage in his interview there. He was basically saying, all right, Memphis canceled a game with us within 2 weeks and came out of pocket and paid that. It was like $800,000 or something, $900,000. It's like Bama's got a lot more resources, a lot more finances. They can own up to that. So if we have to pay another team to come and play us in week 2, we've got $1.3 million burning a hole in our pocket right now. But my thing is, I don't want to pay an FCS team to come down to Atlanta. That does not bode well for us whatsoever at all. I'll take literally any FBS team that would want to come to Atlanta or would host us. I will take that on playing any FCS team that week.
But what about like Kennesaw State, who's already in existence in Atlanta?
FBS over any FCS team. I do not want to play an FCS team. I don't want to.
I know. I'm just like, even being an ITP snob, they're not really coming down to Atlanta.
No. You put them on the CCT and they're good to get here. They get no problem.
That's right. See, you understand.
Yeah. So actually, an idea I had, talking about the money thing with Bama, is would it be worth it to say, Bama, you don't have to pay us the $1.3 million, but you're rescheduling this game at Georgia State Stadium. You're going to come into Atlanta. And
Vince like, no.
At Georgia State Stadium.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
Georgia Tech. at Georgia State Stadium on 9/10.
What?
Yeah, that has more likelihood opportunity. Bama's not traveling, dude. Are you kidding me? Bama's Bama. They're like, no, it's not gonna happen.
Well, this podcast is not about what should happen or what will happen. This is about how cool would it be if it happened. Could you imagine getting Bama in here? That'd be great. And we do the same thing that they did for whatever that other game was before, where if you want to buy season tickets to or buy a single game ticket to the Bama game, you got to buy season tickets to the entire season. Yeah. Dude.
Yeah, it's interesting overall because the SEC, I believe, with all the payouts to FCS and FBS teams that they've basically canceled on, they owe over $50 million to a variety of different folks. So there's a lot of money that's going to be out there.
Chump change.
Yeah, and that's part of it. I think the SEC is going to help. Just like, the AAC came in there and helped Memphis out as well and cut that check as well. So they want these games, to get taken care of. They don't want it. I've seen some, articles and some things written of AD saying, "Oh, we're lawyer up. We're going to go to court." I just don't see that happening. I think there's going to be the things will get worked out. These contracts, and unless they're really that poorly written, there's usually a buyout clause and certainly a number, percentage-wise, that teams will get paid. So I do think it'll get worked out. Who knows if we'll ever schedule Bama again on top of this? But like we said on the open, we're undefeated in the last 2 seasons to get SEC programs. So
there you go.
Hey-o.
Actually, there was one bit of good news I think about this happening when it did is we've played Bama multiple times before. So if we're going to lose a payday game and take the paycheck, take it against a team that you've played before a couple of times. And have had not success against, because obviously we got beat down in both those, but Albert Wilson was the only kickoff return for a touchdown in Bama that entire season. So we've had our tiny little tick marks of success against playing at Bama. So I'm not looking at the other schedules we've had in the past and coming up. This is probably the best season to lose a payday game. The fans aren't missing out on an experience that they would have never had before. So it's not like we were supposed to be going up to Notre Dame to play outside of Touchdown Jesus. So, but what else? I had so much about talking about the conference, but I feel like we've talked so long, and really my questions were more like just kind of fodder. I still think that playing Georgia Tech in that week 2 slot makes so much sense. I don't see why it should not happen. I put on Twitter that it should be in the Mercedes-Benz, the Chick-fil-A game, make a huge, because that way it can be a neutral field. It's a stadium between the 2 campuses.
But then you got to rent Mercedes-Benz, which costs about $1 million. So you don't.
No, I went to rent Mercedes-Benz.
You donated. Come on.
You get Arthur Blank's going to donate it because he didn't pay for any preseason games whatsoever at all. Chick-fil-A can pay for that. I don't care about that. Battle for Atlanta. Make it happen. Also talking when you went on your little Kennesaw State rant about how they should be the team that the Tech schedules, I got onto Twitter and I started peppering these guys with about why Georgia State should play instead. And those Kennesaw guys, they're a feisty bunch.
Oh, they are a feisty bunch. Yeah.
They think it's like, I guess they were too scared to go South Georgia to Southern, so they just stayed at Kennesaw State. But it's the same caliber of fan, like that just total, narrow-minded, simple-minded, numbskull, just idiot, whatever, where all they can see is how everything works in their direction, and everybody else is just like dog fodder or something like that.
Well, and everybody should know that Georgia State is actually the best football program in FBS football, FCS football, whatever, today, right? We're going to be national champs 2025.
Exactly, Reddit crown. But that's what I was saying. Is I was saying that we should schedule them, and the guy I said that it made more sense for Georgia State to schedule Georgia Tech or schedule each other than Kennesaw State, purely because it's an FBS program. We're 1.5 miles from each other. It just makes too much sense. And his response was that Georgia State would be a second-tier program in the SoCon. And I was like, well, then Georgia Tech should schedule State because that's the easier win. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, idiot. There's a reason why you went to Kennesaw State. You went to the the bartender and server school, and we went to the Magic City school. So,
Heyo.
one person knows how to make more money than the other.
Try the wings at Magic City.
I was about to say, and one person has much better chicken wings.
It's true.
I've not had well, I've had nothing from Magic City, so I can't talk about that.
Yeah, but I saw the picture from last week, and those fried fish nuggets looked on point. I don't even like fish.
True.
Well, fried food always looks good. It's like, wow, that looks like fried bread with like food and meat inside. So yeah, it looks great.
It looked good.
All right, we've been going on for just right at an hour now, so I guess we can go ahead and call it off and head on to last call. A couple of last little things. We are 30 days from the Murray State game. I put out a Twitter poll on the State of Atlanta Twitter account asking where players or where fans were going to watch. It was actually kind of funny. It came in at just over 50% said inside the stadium, and then exactly down the middle, like to the vote number, it was exactly down the middle. Either at home or undecided, which I thought was.
Are you guys all going to be there?
I will be there.
I'm there.
4 tickets will be represented.
Are they gonna provide us some GSU masks?
I don't know if they're providing them. I don't know what that is.
I would love it.
I'm sure they'll have them.
Black ones with their numbers on it. It's pretty cool.
Well,
yeah? No, I mean,
is when can I get on that field and kick a field goal to get my free tickets? And they told me I could kick a field goal and get my free tickets, and they've billed me for my tickets already. So how do I get my free tickets? That's what I want to know.
That is a good question. Maybe delayed till next year due to COVID? I don't know.
Possibly so. Hopefully they raise the tickets prices next year so I can get them for free. Maybe
there you go.
So, all right. Well, yeah. Thanks. Special thanks, Ben, for being here, man. It's been great.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
That insider knowledge that three of us don't know about and don't care enough to research. So thanks to Ryan and Tim for being here. We're going to go on to last call, which, Ben, you are more than welcome to be part of, but I've seen some yawns going on your side. So
it's all good, man. I got to bang the story out, and I'm going to head to bed myself. That 4:15.
Wait. Can you not even just give the story on last call? Like, it's not even going to come out till Friday, and only for people who pay.
It's all good. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for all the questions we got on social media. And yeah, we're gonna do last call.
Are you gonna invite people to last call?
Yeah, on anybody that's listening, post in the comments in the Facebook page, and that you want to be part of it. I'll send you a link, and we'll have our fans on, our listeners, viewers,
our wonderful fans.
Grab it.
Let us know if you want to be part of last call. We're not going to do it live on Facebook. We're going to do that just ourselves. But yeah, post the link as soon as you can, and I'll send out a link to everybody, or post a comment. I'll post a link, whatever words. I've been drinking. Got like some empty beer here. I don't know what's going on anymore. And yeah, thanks everybody for listening, watching, and yeah, we'll talk to you next week. Go Panthers.
Thanks, boys.
Go State.